Good morning, and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by drroto.com. Check out all other content and seasonal DFS tools on drroto.com. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have to do this again. I fucked that up so bad. We have to do it
Here,
again.
so we'll tell.
Okay.
I'll actually go back and download it and edit this out. So, all right, here we go. I'm gonna rerun the intro, and then I'll just clip it from here.
Okay, thanks.
3, 2.
Hey guys, this is the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate, brought to you by drroto.com. Get your daily prescription of fantasy sports. I'm Sam Holt, joined as always by Derek Tate. Derek, how the hell are ya?
The office is open. Fantasy football season is already upon us for a lot of us. In fact, it never stops here on the Fantasy Debate.
Never does. I just got another invite to a charity league, and I said yes. And this was all after saying I'm not doing any more leagues this year. No, I'm done. I'm tapped out.
We've already had this discussion, Sam. You have to learn to say no to new leagues.
I don't know how to say no to new leagues. It's just so exciting. I just love the drafting process. We're talking ADP today. Last week, we covered quarterbacks. This week, we are covering wide receivers. So, you live and breathe this stuff. I just can't say no to more leagues. I just love all the little minutia, the little tiny bits that go into drafting in the entire process. So I just can't stop myself.
Most people get addicted to actual shopping in the real world. This is my addiction of shopping, shopping for the right price, shopping for the right buys for fantasy football. So yeah, I'm ready to discuss my findings for the wide receiver position.
I'm excited. I feel like this is what you and I do really well. Like when you sent me your list and I sent you mine, it's just like, oh, cool. We're opposite on this, but this is going to be really fun. So let's start with our overpriced players. And I feel like mine maybe feels a little hot takey. Maybe it's not, but I think that Davante Adams is overpriced where he's at. But you got to hear me out because I have a reason. Yes. Is he one of the top, going to go into the record books as one of the best wide receivers? I think he is. He's an amazing receiver. However, his quarterback might be on an island somewhere. I don't know where he is. I don't know that anyone really knows where he is until he posts on social media that he's in Hawaii or that he's playing golf or he's doing. That's Aaron Rodgers. We still don't know what's going on with him. So I feel like that puts, to me, a damper on Davante Adams. We just don't know what's going to happen this coming season. Is he still going to be an elite receiver? Yes, 100%. If Jordan Love ends up being the quarterback for the Packers, he's got an amazing receiver in Davante Adams. But I think this cuts the floor out from beneath him just a little bit. So for that, I feel like I'd rather wait on that and get someone else later that I know has a bit more upside.
Let's do some real talk here. I'm going to ask you real questions, and I want you to give your real gut feeling answers. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to play football in 2021?
No.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's your gut feeling.
And two, ready for it.
If he were to play, do you think it would be in Green Bay, or is it going to be somewhere else and he forced his way out via trade?
I think if he plays in 2021, it's not with the Packers, and he forces his way out somewhere.
Look, I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers is completely bluffing or anything of that nature. I do think he's going to play football in 2021. And if he's going to play,
he's going to be with the Packers?
Can you ask yourself, of the quarterback needy teams where their situation is not solidified with one of the top 5 or 10 quarterbacks in the league, and in particular with ones that have already committed financially, right? Where is there really a better situation for him to compete for a championship in 2021 than Green Bay?
To compete for a championship this year, it's probably going to be a lot tougher. But I mean, you said it yourself, and I love the spot that you said that he could end up. I love the idea of him going to the Broncos and working with that offense and making something new there. And I feel like Rodgers is still young enough that he could put a couple more good years in, maybe not MVP caliber, maybe he dials it back a little, but I still think he has enough in the tank for at least 5 more years to be a successful quarterback and get to a championship.
Look, there's a lot of hypothetical situations I'd love, Sam. Hypothetically, I would love to live in Tampa, Florida, sit there and party and put an actual dent in Lord Stanley's Cup for the back-to-back championships the Tampa Bay Lightning just won. I'd love to be able to catch a Lombardi Trophy pass from boat to boat from the GOAT, Tom Brady. Like, there's a lot of things that I would love hypothetically. But right now, Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers GM, no matter what you think of him, is basically saying we're not trading Aaron Rodgers. And I think he's a fool for trying to go head-to-head with the reigning MVP that's given you 16 years of greatness and is a future Hall of Famer. Like, you're fighting an uphill battle that you're going to lose. But all that being said, and Sam, I hear you. Davante Adams is the Ferrari. Like, he's the actual visual piece of the car that you see, but the engine underneath that drives the whole fantasy value for him is Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. So if Aaron Rodgers is not there, I understand completely that you're not wanting to take him at his current ADP, which is wide receiver number 1. That being said, I guess I'm just a little bit more confident that Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing football in 2021 as a Green Bay Packer.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is. I just have zero confidence in that fact. And that's what's holding me back from being more bullish on Davante Adams. So for me, like, looking at different stats on where they have him going, different ADPs and PPR and Superflex, maybe make it the second round, I'd rather have the DeAndre Hopkins of the world, the Calvin Ridleys. I'd rather have go earlier and get Stephon Diggs. I'd rather get Stephon Diggs ahead of Adams for me. Like, I just feel like there's other players I'd rather have. And for me, I feel like he's a little overpriced there. And
so a little safer with some of the other options.
Yeah, a little safer. I just want to feel safe with that kind of, when taking a wide receiver that early, that value is so huge. You're putting so much investment in that.
Right.
I don't want to second guess that pick. And I have second guesses when it comes to Adams, but that's enough on him. Who is your overpriced wide receiver this year?
The bad AJ Brown. And
how dare you?
I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to offend AJ Brown himself. I just look at his situation and where he's being drafted right now. Wide receiver 6. The 6th wide receiver off the board. Let me repeat that. So some of the other names you just mentioned, D-Hop, D-Hop is DeAndre Hopkins, but Davante Adams, Tyreek Hill. Those are sure bona fide players that are going in front of AJ Brown at the current moment. But right now, Brown is being selected over guys like Keenan Allen, by the way. Also, Calvin Ridley's another name. Mm-hmm. And if we're also keeping track of this, it's Allen Robinson as well. Like, those are guys that I feel just as confident in moving into the upcoming 2021 season. Some would definitely argue about Allen Robinson, but I argue that if Allen Robinson has been able to post the numbers he has over the last 2 seasons, whether it's Andy Dalton or Justin Fields under center, he's still going to be able to produce. So, and with Fields, I actually think that there's a chance that he outperforms where he's being taken right now. But when it comes to AJ Brown, right, he had 2 off-season surgeries, 1 on each knee. That's a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah, a little bit scary.
I mean, granted, neither of them were major, but they're still off-season knee procedures.
They're just like a little bit like that scope and cleanup work that they get in there in the off-season, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, again, not overly concerning, but still just, eyebrow raise. And then the other big eyebrow raise, they lost their OC, which really helped launch Ryan Tannehill's, career rebirth, if you will, there in Tennessee. Arthur Smith is now the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And then you kind of look at Julio Jones being there. I mean, Julio's only been arguably the best wide receiver over the last decade. And
arguably.
And last season, when he was healthy, he was still very effective. It's not like he's on his last leg. Julio's going to come in there, and you can make an argument that Julio right now is still a better receiver than A.J. Brown. In fact, I would actually still make that argument, even though I love A.J. Brown. Run-heavy scheme, new target hog receiver in town, loss of the guy that, has been calling the plays for Ryan Tannehill. All those things don't equal, to me, the wide receiver 6 in fantasy.
I mean,
I like Justin Jefferson more than I like A.J. Brown, too.
I do love Justin Jefferson. I feel like, and he's taken around a similar low
He's wide
bound.
receiver 7 right now.
Yeah, in terms of
Well, according to ADP.
yeah, he's. I love Justin Jefferson. Just what I love about AJ Brown is he's just such a beast of a receiver that's
Right.
going to go the extra mile. When he does make that catch, you're going to get the yards after the catch more so with him than you are going to get with other receivers. He's just that big of a guy. You can't take him down. It's just too difficult. He's such a fun receiver to watch because of the way he plays, and his style of play is just such a fun, exciting thing. So for me, that's kind of difficult to let that go.
I'm not trying to. Please. You feel offended by the pick.
I do. I just like no, but he's AJ Brown.
He's so good.
I do hear you though in terms of the floor, the potential ceiling that you get with him compared to other players. I hear you. I do hear you.
He was great on a per game basis. His touchdown output on how many targets and receptions he had was off the charts good. Look, he is a dynamic playmaker once the ball's in his hands. So I hear you on that. Like he's great. Like it's not debating whether AJ Brown in the right system and in the right situation can't post a wide receiver 1 season overall. I mean, he's a slot dynamo hybrid guy that has long speed that you can move all over the formation. He can beat you short. He can beat you long. He can beat you on a screen pass and take it to the house. Like AJ Brown is that dude. It's just this offense. I don't know if the opportunities warrant spending that type of draft capital on him when I got other options that, in particular, Keenan Allen is just disrespected. And I would much rather have Keenan Allen than AJ Brown in 2021.
Yeah, I do think that Keenan Allen doesn't get the respect he deserves. And I don't know if it's part of the whole mystique or the wonder that is the LA Chargers. Like, since becoming LA Chargers, I think maybe like you entered this market, and to me, like, I just forgot about him. I don't know what happened. Like, I'm at fault too. It's not that I don't want to think about Keenan Allen, but I forget about him a lot.
He's somebody that can slip through the cracks because he's not the flashy guy. He's not fat. He's not a burner. He's not a big play receiver. I mean, I shouldn't say he's not a big play. He makes big plays, but he's not someone that wows you with his athleticism. He's just such a fundamentally sound route runner.
Consistent, yeah.
Yeah, so consistent route runner, great hand. I mean, Allen's just maximized his potential. So I still love him, though. I mean, I love what he does, and I just prefer his situation over AJ Brown's. And it's nothing against AJ Brown. I just love Keenan Allen.
All right, I hear you.
Somehow this turned into a Keenan Allen versus AJ Brown thing.
This was not part of the show notes. We did not decide, we're going to give some Keenan Allen hype just unnecessarily. But, that's how it goes. Let's talk about late round value players.
Okay.
I've got Curtis Samuel as my late round value player, which I feel like is a little bit random in that Curtis Samuel is also maybe someone that people forget about a little bit. But what has it for me is the confidence I have in Ryan Fitzpatrick and that connection. I'm not going to stop pumping the tires on this. You're making a face, and it's because I cannot get off this Fitzpatrick train.
You can't.
I can't. It's just I can't stop with the love. It's just there's so much of it there for me. So for me, I know obviously Terry McLaurin is going to be a fantastic combination with him. That's going to be great. But Curtis Samuel is just getting forgotten. And I think that because he's getting so forgotten, you're going to get a great value pick in him where he falls in a draft because he is going to have a good floor, not just a decent floor, a great floor with Fitzpatrick week to week. So for me, it's a little bit random, I know, and I need to get off this train. I got to get back onto another train. I'm maybe on the Washington football team too much, but it's just because I love Fitzmagic. And I know that you appreciate him too, so don't even start making those faces.
Whoa. I'm sorry. Yes, he brings a smile to my face.
He does.
I remember, trust me, I remember back from his Fitzmagic days, he played, Jameis Winston off the football field and also took Deshaun Jackson's whatever jacket it was, fleeced it up, threw on some shades, and, was meme worthy for the rest of his life now. I love Fitzmagic.
Yes.
But you're very confident in Ryan Fitzpatrick basically spearheading a Washington football team attack. And don't get me wrong. Do I think Fitzpatrick can make receivers fantasy relevant? Absolutely. I mean, I just think that receiver is going to be Terry McLaurin, and McLaurin's going to continue to do his thing.
I get that.
I just don't know. There's a lot of unknown. That's the best way to put it. There's a lot of unknown when it comes to Curtis Samuel, right? I mean, he did have a career year last year. Was very pleased with what he actually put up as far as his targets, his numbers, and certainly Christian McCaffrey getting hurt out of the backfield probably helped with some of his receiving opportunities closer to the line of scrimmage, but he still had a hell of a year. I just don't know if I have the warm and fuzzies about the number 2 wide receiver in Washington. That's the part I'm having trouble getting past.
Okay, let me sell you on the value, though, because currently he's going in 10th, 11th round. That's so late. So if you're someone that is eyeing Terry McLaurin and you miss him, let's just say you miss him, you can wait until the 10th, 11th round and pick up a little bit of that Curtis Samuel, and you'll still have a little bit of that receiving floor. You're not sacrificing a lot at that.
You're right. You're not. You're definitely not.
Round, you're not looking at running backs to fill in your squad. You're not looking at tight ends, depending on the league that you're in. Like, that's just late round back cleanup. This is just like you're leaving the store and you're like, hey, I kind of feel like having a Kit Kat right now. So you throw it into the cart because you're looking down the aisle and you're like, I don't want to leave the aisle line, but I could go ahead and take that.
Well, see, that's the problem, though. Every one of these decisions is something that I'm willing to argue over. I'd rather have a Twix than a Kit Kat in the, just as the throw in and into my shopping cart at the very end of the day.
Want to go there?
I know. Look, that's what I'm saying is even these 10th, 11th, 12th rounders, I'm going to argue. I'm that guy at the draft, and I'm still going like, that was a terrible pick. Like, everybody rolls their eyes at me.
Love you.
They love to beat me because I'm the guy that is criticizing your 11th round pick, your wide receiver 6.
Give me your late round value pick. Who do you have?
I got Cole Beasley. This
guy.
Okay. So let's all just pretend like Josh Allen is actually being drafted inside the top 5 at his position, right? Is he or is he not? Where did he finish last year as far as quarterbacks go?
Didn't he finish top 3?
Top 1.
Top 1.
The
number 1.
So the number 1, right? So the number 1 guy can't just throw the ball to Stephon Diggs the entire time, correct?
No, even though certain Stephon Diggs players would like that.
Oh, I mean, he pretty much does. So let's not get carried away. But what I'm trying to get at is what have we seen from Cole Beasley with Josh Allen over the last 2 years? Back-to-back seasons with over 100 targets. And did they really bring in anybody? Don't roll your eyes at me.
No,
I see it.
No, that was a subtle agreement nod. Okay. That was me saying I like that number of targets. That was not an eye roll.
I thought it was. But anyway, I look blue right now.
Obvious with my eye rolls.
I look like I have a blue tint over me. So yes, go ahead and roll your eyes at my camera. It deserves it. But Cole Beasley, I thought that you saw the with Josh Allen's progression as a quarterback, as a pure quarterback, right? We saw his efficiency with those 107 targets jump. We saw his receptions jump to 82. We saw his yards go from up to 967. I mean, yes, he's never been a high touchdown volume guy. He's probably never going to be. But as someone that moves the chains and gets consistent target flow, I still think that Cole Beasley is probably going to sneak into the top 30 in PPR formats. So that's why when you're talking, he's the wide receiver 52 off the board right now at 137 overall. Mm-hmm. The number 2 option, what I think is the number 2 option in that Buffalo passing attack with Josh Allen, who we all expect is potentially going to contend for another MVP superstar type year. I just think that I'd want to have the number 2 option at that price tag for the Buffalo passing attack.
You make a very compelling argument, sir, for Cole Beasley. Because, yes, that is very late for someone who is going to be paired with Josh Allen, and absolutely love that connection they have. I love the floor that you get with Beasley. I like that.
Thank you.
I'm
That
not
might be
upset
the
by
nicest
your
compliment I've ever heard.
I'm not upset by that decision, but let's roll on. We've got breakout players to cover. We want to make sure we get these names out there for the people. However, maybe this is where my not surprising pick comes in.
Okay.
I don't want to not be surprising, but I just want to say that I feel like CeeDee Lamb is going to finish. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna say, like, I want to say he's a top 10, but I feel like he could easily hit top 5 receiver this year, just based on not just his own physical prowess and talent, but he's going to have a healthy Dak Prescott this year, who was on an amazing pace last year until his season was shortened. But what I love looking at the stats for CeeDee Lamb, despite not having Prescott last year, after he lost him, he still had an insane floor of targets. He finished the year with 111 targets, 935 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I mean, I feel like what capped it last year was the quarterback play. Why he didn't end up with more touchdowns. That's kind of surprising. He only has 5. But I feel like this year with Dak, that number is going to at the very least double in terms of touchdowns. He's going to end up with at least 10 touchdowns. He's going to have over 100 yards targets again. I feel like it's going to be closer to the 120, 130 mark in terms of targets. So that volume I just love for him. And I feel like he's got the athleticism just to be that big play guy, just to get those single-handed grabs, to make the play out of nothing when combined with his quarterback again. I am just very excited for him this year.
Look, I'm going to be hard pressed to try to argue this point with you. You know, the only
CeeDee Lamb, you don't love this volume.
I know
I don't love this guy.
Hold on. I love CeeDee Lamb, and you know, last year, I think that if Dak Prescott didn't get hurt, that we would be talking about CeeDee Lamb being the breakout receiver this year and possibly even going inside the top 12 at this position rather than Justin Jefferson. I mean, we'd be having, I still want to have that argument because the Dallas Cowboys are still going to struggle on defense. They're getting Dak Prescott back, which, by the way, those first 4 or 5 weeks where Dak Prescott was healthy, CeeDee Lamb saw a healthy amount of targets, healthy amount of receptions, and you are damn skippy when he was pretty damn impressive, even when he had the likes of Andy Dalton and Ben DiNucci under center. This team had to try to figure out ways to get him the football, and it wasn't always pretty. In fact, most of the times it was ugly once Dak Prescott went down. But Dak, I believe, is coming back healthy. I believe that he is going to pepper CeeDee Lamb with targets, and they played CeeDee Lamb out of that very valuable slot position. And he's capable of going all over the place, but I think that CeeDee Lamb's going to see a bunch of work. In fact, I think he is the Cowboys wide receiver to own in what should be a very productive passing offense in 2021. So I can't really argue with that. I see the same type of ceiling/ascension for CeeDee Lamb in 2021. I'm with you.
You don't want to be on that? I want to be on that plane.
Are you you're piloting the CeeDee Lamb, rocket ship that's going to take off? Okay.
Yeah, it's a Learjet and I'm piloting it. Let's go.
Okay, don't crash that shit into the sea. Please. I trust you. I trust you.
Into the stratosphere.
Fine. You go ahead and take CeeDee Lamb and run with his hype train. Where the only argument is that I'm going to go ahead and try to go with someone that's a little bit further down the list because CeeDee Lamb, as of right now, is the wide receiver 15 off the board. So you're expecting him to produce it like a top 10, even a potential top 5.
I'm guessing a top 5 potential. So I get that jump isn't that crazy, but I think that where you get him later where he sits, he is going to outproduce and be a top 5 wide receiver for you. So your breakout player is a little bit further down the list.
Oh, very, very. This is me calling my shot. Maybe I'm a fantasy hipster. Maybe I'm not. Who knows? I know what I'm talking about.
Shoot your shot.
All right. At wide receiver 47 right now, say it with me. It's Laviska Shenault Jr. is the receiver to own in the city of Jacksonville. Not DJ Chark, not Marvin Jones. It's your boy Laviska Shenault Jr. Okay. So you're skeptical.
No, I'm not shooting my shot with you. I'm just getting ready to hear this argument.
You're skeptical. Okay. So say it with me. This first part. The holy trio of quarterback play of Gardner Minshew, Mike Glennon, and Jake Luton are no longer throwing the football to Laviska Shenault Jr. Please repeat that. Never mind. I'll do it myself.
Yeah,
those three are not throwing him the football for this year. It's Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, they have Trevor Lawrence now.
Beautiful golden locks are now throwing him the football. Now I trust that. Yes. Sunshine, sunshine. Anyway, we also now have Urban Meyer and Darrell Bevell in town. And Urban Meyer, even dating back to his days at the University of Florida and Ohio State, loves to get the ball into the hands of playmakers. And by the way, Laviska Shenault, in another world, could play running back in the National Football League. That's how dynamic this guy is once he has the ball in his hands. You thought A.J. Brown was good? Laviska Shenault just steamrolls defenders and DBs. Like that, he is that guy with the ball in his hands. One of the things that was at least makes me feel very encouraged, Sam. Not only is the quarterback play going to be far more consistent, right, with Trevor Lawrence under center, serious note. Shenault did a lot of his work in his rookie year, despite all of the moving parts in the Jacksonville offense, out of the slot. And I loved his win rates on in-breaking routes. Like, yes, he needs a little bit of polish when it comes to his route running. It's not always consistent. I mean, I saw him break off defenders, including one against the Texans with a whip route, which was beautiful. But there's also times where he lets his body stand up. His release isn't always super, super consistent. He's not as polished as someone like Justin Jefferson, for example, but his physical tools are up there with anybody in the NFL. And the fact that I saw enough encouraging signs for his ability to be able to get open in his rookie year, despite all of the problems with the Jacksonville offense, very encouraging. And we saw his targets, 79 last year with that hot mess under center. Hot mess. I actually think that he has a legit chance to go up to 100, 110, maybe even 120 targets. And I also think that he's going to carry the football somewhere between 5 to 20 times this season, which is kind of that Robert Woods effect where you just find a way to get the football into his hands.
Okay, my only thing with that is James Robinson and Travis Etienne, like, I mean, could he carry the ball a little bit? Sure, but that's not a stat I would be banking on.
I'm not. That's why the targets are where I'm going with. I think his jump in targets is where I feel comfortable with.
All right.
I'm just saying that you sprinkle that in, Sam. It's like, if you just cooked a steak and you want to throw like a little seasoning on top, just a little bit. That's all his rushing capabilities are going to give you, or just that little bit of seasoning, that little bit of spice at the very end. It's not what you're basing the entire meal off of, but it gives it a nice kick.
See, if you had said butter on the steak, that's where you'd have me, because I love adding butter to steaks. That's delicious.
How about the cherry on top? That's even better. The cherry on top of the Laviska Shenault, dessert that I think is going to eat all season long in the Jacksonville offense. Again, that's my guy. I just see he has the symptoms of a breakout wide receiver written all over him. That's my guy. And right now, 113 overall, wide receiver 47. I just see the upside with that investment being so enticing that I'm going to have a ton of shares of Laviska Shenault Jr. in 2021.
All right. I do like the value where you're getting him. I like the tasty treat that Trevor Lawrence is and that he brings to that offense. It's going to be a bit of a mixed bag. We're going to see a lot of different things happening, but I do like the idea of hitching a wagon to that train on the Shenault train. That is, I do appreciate that. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in to our ADP discussion. We covered wide receivers. We'll be covering running backs next. Please follow Derek at DTater4 on all forms of social. You can follow me at Sam Holt at Samantha R. Holt on Twitter and on the Instagram at Sam_awesome. Guys, thanks for listening to the Fantasy Debate with Sam and Tate. Check out all the other content, seasonal DFS tools, as well as premium access to our staff for all your fantasy sports questions in the members only Discord right here at drroto.com.
Fill out your prescription with a subscription. How did you like that?
I like that very much. Good.
I'll just say later, says the Tater. Thanks for joining, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.